What does that mean? Hitting your goals with GPS and 401. Who knows what that tool is? Who's ever heard of it? You heard of it on TikTok? From a KW agent? Okay.
I look realtor and start watching.
Really? It had to be a KW agent that they were talking about those two tools. Well, let me draw something on screen. And I want you to just to kind of tell you where the GPS falls and the 401. So just so you know, the GPS and a 401, I'll just explain to you what it stands for, but it's just a tool. That's all it is. It's a tool to help you run your business. Now, in the MREA, you'll see, I think it's page either like 34, 37, I can't remember the exact page number. You're gonna see two triangles, just like this. And on the left-hand side, at the bottom of the triangle, it says stable. On the right-hand side, it says unstable, right? Because I mean, that'd be pretty hard to balance that, wouldn't you think? Upside down triangle. On the stable side, it shows at the bottom, it says models. And on the top side, it says creativity. On the right-hand side, it has model up top. On the bottom, it has creativity. What is this saying? Okay, so creativity. What is that? What is this implying? Stable versus unstable.
If you prioritize creativity, then you won't work.
Yeah, if you lead with creativity, it won't work. And I'll give you an example of what I mean by that. I'll use my personal self. When I started in real estate part-time in 2016, I looked at a script from one person. Kevin Ward is a big trainer. I looked at his scripts. Tom Ferry's another big trainer. I looked at his scripts and I said, these scripts suck. I would never talk like that. I'm going to make my own script. And I literally redesigned my own script. Do you guys think that script worked that I used? No. Why not?
Each one of them is made for a certain reason.
Yeah.
Made to work that way.
Yeah, it's already been proven to work, and it works in whatever way it was designed. And I didn't know what I didn't know, so I was creating something that I have no experience on. I just wrote a script that was quote unquote, I guess, comfortable for me, but I didn't know any better. I haven't sold real estate yet. So why would I take something I have no idea about, recreate it? Do you think I'm going to find success? Probably not. It's going to be unstable because I led with creativity. So what do? We use models. So the model was following a script. We're going to talk about a couple other models today. They're called the GPS 411. Now, before we can use a GPS in a 411, we need a goal. And when I say we need a goal, what do you think I'm referring to?
A plan.
Well, a goal. A goal is not a plan. What do you think I'm referring to? What kind of goal are we talking about right now?
Units.
There we go. So money, units. How many units are we going to sell? How much gross commission income we want to make? How much volume we want to sell? We can look at it a couple of different ways. Volume. Which one do you think of these three is the most important of the three? Okay, we got one for volume. Who else thinks something else is a little bit more important? All right, guys, let's unmute. Adam, unmute. Let's talk.
I don't know.
You said volume, right? So we got one saying volume. Does anybody think there's something else that we should be tracking more than the other? Or is volume the leading one?
That's what
Units.
I'm not sure.
Okay, so units. Adam, volume, units, or GCI? What do we track?
We are tracking GCI.
So now we're good. So
I mean,
yeah,
units.
three
My
options,
bad.
three answers. I'll give it to you. It's units.
It's units.
Units is what you want to track, and I'll explain to you why units. And I'll give you real world examples right now I'm seeing. From, let's say, 2019, I don't think any of you were in the business at that point, so let's take a step back there. 2019, if I looked at agents production in 2019, and then fast forward, let's say to 2021, what do you think, what was happening in the market between 2019 and 2021?
More buyers.
Well, think about the market in general. What happened? Well, there were more buyers, yes, because the interest rates went down like crazy, so there was a ton of buyers. But what happened to the market? Did the market get competitive? Think COVID.
Yes.
What happened? The market, were there now multiple offers on properties? Were people having to make offers with no inspection contingencies, no appraisal contingencies, 20 offers on a property? You guys remember that or heard about that maybe?
No.
You've heard about it. If you haven't, you're hearing about it now. Well, that was the reality, guys. No joke. The reality is in late 2020, 2021, and a lot of 2022, that was the situation we were in. Multiple offers, very competitive. Almost, you literally had to make an offer above list price with no appraisal contingencies, no inspection contingencies. It was like the buyer was risking it all to get a property. That's the market we were in. Now, here's what else happened in that time. So if an agent sold $10 million in 2019, and I'm just going to take simple numbers right now for the sake of it, selling 10 units. So in 2019, they sold 10 houses for $10 million. In 2021, what you were seeing was 10 million, and really it was probably higher. 10 million plus is what we saw in 2020 plus, but they were doing it, let's say, within 5 to 8 deals. What's the problem with that? What's the problem with they were doing technically the same volume or more, but they were doing less units? What problem do we have with that? Well, the prices increased, which is why they were able to sell less units, but sell the same amount of volume. What's the issue with that though? If we're saying that units is what we track.
Supply and demand.
Not so much. The issue was they lost market share. When you look at an agent's business, just like any other business, hey, well, how much market share does that business have? So if the agent's market share was 10, but they went down to 5 or 8, they lost market share. But the illusion was that, hey, I'm doing great because the prices went up. So they didn't feel it in their pockets. But at the end of the day, they were slowly losing because what are they doing? They're losing market share in a market that's getting more and more competitive. But they didn't feel it in their pocket because the volume was higher. So that's one of the big reasons that you want to focus on units, because that's going to dictate, are you losing, gaining, or maintaining market share? Now, an agent that grew their market share through this, obviously they're going to make a boatload of money.
Well, what if you have really high units, but it's all just low dollar sales?
Same thing.
Right.
Ultimately, it's still trans. Yes and no. If I'm selling $100,000 condos, obviously it's not going to do it. So when you business plan, I like to business plan using $500,000 as the average price point until you have an actual number for yourself. So for example, fast forward first 12 months in business, you sell 12 homes and the average price point is 300. Well, now at this point, using the $500,000 price point doesn't work for you. Now you're going to use that number. So that's the number I would advise to use on. So when you're thinking about your income goal, and there's a reason I'm sharing all this now because it's going to lead into the GPS. When you think about your income goal, crazy here with this. And I think Adam, you've already heard me talk about this. But in order for you guys to figure out what this is ultimately going to be, you need to figure out your lid. So for those who haven't heard me talk about this, the LIV stands for lifestyle, investments, and debt. So what we're saying here is, what is it going to take for the next 12 months to fund your lifestyle month to month? That's mortgage, rent, car payments, food, utilities, vacations, what else? Clothing, back to school, all the stuff that it takes to maintain your lifestyle. We're going to break that down into a monthly number. Then you're going to move into your investments. What are your investments over the next 12 months? Are you funding a Roth IRA account? Are you opening up a stock account? Are you You know, getting a down payment and closing costs together for an investment property, like what are you investing in and how much money are we gonna need to generate to get to that number? And then the next piece is gonna be debt reduction. So let's say hypothetically I had a car payment, my payment goes into lifestyle because I gotta pay that every month to maintain my lifestyle. But if I wanted to pay that car off this year, then that remaining principal balance would go into my debt reduction. If that's my goal, like it's your goal, guys, it's whatever you want it to be. It's your life by design, not mine. If your goal is to pay off something, maybe a school loan, a credit card, throw it in there. What ultimately this is gonna do is it's gonna give us a GCI number. Right now, let's just use even numbers. It's gonna give us a number, and let's just say that number is 200,000. Now we know that we need to make $200,000 in order to pay for this. Now, what does this $200,000 not take into account? What is it not taking into account? Let's say we added up lifestyle investments and debt reduction and add this 200,000. What are we forgetting to add in here? Yes, so business expense. What? Taxes, and then one more. Good job. One more. So business expense, taxes, what else? One more. Yes, cost of sale. Your cost of sale. So your cost of sale for everybody here is 30,000. It's your company dollar plus your royalty together. So we're gonna add in 30K for that. We're gonna add in for taxes on that 200,000. Now, you know, at the end of the day, I don't know what yours is gonna be. I don't know what your deductions are. Like, I don't know your world of finance. So all we can do is take an estimate. So I'm gonna just start putting aside 25% for taxes. So that would have to mean that I need to put an extra 50 grand. I don't know why I didn't calculate the $1,000 evening. 50 grand aside for taxes. And now the business expenses, now we don't know what it's gonna be for you guys. I don't know how much or how little you're gonna spend this year in your first year in the business. What I recommend you do, first year agents, is budget $12,000 in expenses your first year. Who thinks that's high or who thinks that's low? Do you think it's low? Adam, what do you think? Is it high or low, 12,000? Adam's not paying attention.
I think it's good.
Yeah. I've seen agents spend more their first year, but I'll tell you that a good chunk of them, as long as you stay a single agent by yourself, you haven't hired an admin or anything like that, it's usually under that. Because even if you took 20 listings, do the math, guys, 20 listings at roughly, let's say $400 rounding up on a photographer for videos, it's 8,000. So it actually might be close. But that's 8,000 just in that right now if we took 20 listings. So I budget 12,000 until you now get past your first year, and then you'll know what your real number is. That's the part that's I guess the variable component here. Now let's add all this up. 200,000 plus our 50. Say it again. So good. I can't do that. I gotta use my calculator. Sorry. So 292. Now, to your point about volume, let me ask you this. In planning right now, in this planning stage, are you guys gonna so we know we need to make $292,000 in GCI, now we gotta put in an average commission. Are any of you gonna be using, let's say, $5,000 as your average commission when you plan? Or would you probably be using maybe 10, 15, 20,000? Are you getting into the, let me ask it a different way, $5,000 divided by 3% gives me a purchase price of $166,000. Are any of you planning on targeting properties at that price point or lower?
No.
Most of you want a higher price point, yes or no? Say yes.
Well, unless you do a
Say yes.
manufactured home.
Unless you're gonna target that. So here's
That's
the
another
reality.
day.
Here's the reality. The average price point is higher than 500,000 right now, yet that's the number I would use. A $500,000 purchase price puts you at a 3% commission, $15,000. When we take the 292 divided by the 15, what does that give us? You can't do that one fast, can you? 292, that's our total commission we need to generate divided by $15,000 commission, that's $500,000 purchase price. It's 19.4, or better said, 20 home sales. So we would be needed targeting 20 units at that price point to stay on track for this income goal. Now, what'll happen is 5 house sales in, maybe we find out that our price point is 300,000. So we would then take whatever remaining income we have to make divided by our actual average price point that we were actually selling in, because maybe we're attracting $300,000 buyers and listings. And then it'll end up adjusting your unit goal. So this number is going to move around. It's going to have a number of goals right now to get started, but it's going to fluctuate as you get your production going. Does that make sense? So your point, it is volume as well. We just don't know what your volume is going to be yet. Any question about this before I actually move on to the GPS part? Bueller? Nothing? Pretty straightforward, right? Here's the reality, guys. Most agents don't do this part. Most agents, when I meet with them, they ask me about leads. I'm like, well, I can talk to you about leads all day, but have you figured this part out yet? Because you need to figure out your goal. Because now that we know we need 20 units, what we're now going to do is, well, we already figured out the G part of the GPS. G just stands for goals. So we've already now figured out that we need to sell 20 units for $292,000 in gross commission income. That's my goal. Got the hard part out of the way. Let's get the fun part in now. What do you guys think the P stands for? And by the way, before we answer that question, let me ask you guys this. Remember the time when we didn't have phones and we had to go on Google and print, what was it called for?
Love that you're looking at each other.
No, I'm not. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
No.
MapQuest.
Yeah.
MapQuest. That's what I was thinking. You remember MapQuest? Nobody remembers MapQuest? We had to print out our maps.
Yeah,
There was no way, so there was a time, not that long ago, where if we wanted to drive, let's say to New York, we would go on computer at the library, go to MapQuest and print up the directions. So the question is, without our phones, would we ever go somewhere out of state we've never been to without getting a GPS and or printing up the directions? I wouldn't. What would happen if we did? What would happen if we took a long road trip, let's say to New York, California, Nevada, without a GPS? What would happen?
Get lost.
You would get lost. What else?
You may get there, but it'll take a long time.
You may get there, but it'll take a long time. That kind of hits home right now when I think about this conversation. I'm not saying that you can't hit your goals of 20 units in this example without a GPS, but it definitely going to shorten that time to get there. It's definitely going to shorten it. It's definitely going to shorten the amount of dead end roads you go into. It's like that movie, or what am I thinking about? You guys ever seen Hills Have Eyes? #2, where the guy, the dad wants to take the shortcut. I'm like, no. You guys remember that? Don't do that. Don't do that. Use your GPS. Have you ever seen that movie? Do you know what I'm talking about? Don't watch it. It's a rough one. It's a rough movie. So you would not take that drive without a GPS. Guys, don't get into this business and desiring to make whatever level of income you want to make without actually having a GPS. So we've gotten the G part, now with the P. So the P is priorities is what it stands for. Can't spell that. Priorities. And when oh, there you are. Nice. So the P is priority. So better said, it's your lead source. And you're going to pick 3 of them. So it's what are your 3 lead sources that you're going to work to find these 20 units. This is where the problem arises for too many of us. I was guilty of it as well. Here's what I mean by that. I'd go to a training. I'm like, holy crap, that sounds pretty neat what they just said. I'm going to go do that. And I do it for maybe 3 weeks. I'm like, that doesn't work. They lie. Then I go to another training. Oh, wow, that sounds pretty cool. I think I could do that. And I tried that for 2 weeks instead, and it doesn't work. And all of a sudden, Adam's a liar. You guys follow? All right. Has anyone already done that? Yes. Do you mind sharing?
The others is kind of shiny object syndrome also.
Shiny object syndrome. Yeah, that stuff is real. It is real. What I have found over the years is that for myself and many agents that I've coached with and just my friends in the industry, that we have just a peer-to-peer relationship is that we've all fallen victim of it. The quicker though that you can overcome that and just not fall trap of it, the faster again you're going to get to your goal. Because here's the reality, there's so many lead sources out there, they're all going to work. Every single one of them.
Wait, are we talking about limiting beliefs?
Say it again?
What did she say? Limiting beliefs?
No, shiny object syndrome.
Ah, okay.
Shiny object syndrome, wanting to go towards everything that looks nice and appealing. So when we think about the lead sources, here's one thing I want you guys to think about. You got to think that you want to be a prospecting based business that is marketing enhanced. So let's talk about it. Let's have a quick discussion around this. So we got to figure out our 3 lead sources. Let's create a list right now. We'll go around the room, think about a different lead source, and we'll figure out if it's a prospecting based one or a marketing based one. And typically the way to look at it is this was you actively out there, engaging with people. Go for it.
Open houses.
The open houses, yes. Now the right hand side, just for clarity, it's basically you put something out there. Now we're sitting back waiting.
Facebook leads.
All right, so Facebook leads, social, keep going. What are some other sources? Let's talk about both.
Sphere of influence.
Door knock, SOI, keep going,
Farming.
keep going. Say it again,
Farming.
farming, keep going,
Or sell by owners.
keep going. Farming can also be here a little bit too, because there's an aspect of farming that's marketing. What else?
FISBO.
Already said it, keep going.
YouTube.
YouTube, okay, keep going.
Oh, seminars.
Events.
What do you mean by that? Like networking group? Talking
No,
about-
setting up
Oh, like,
monthly seminars so that you can have first time homeowners come in and
gotcha. That could probably go in a little bit of both. So I'm just gonna put like first time buyer or something like that. What else? What lead sources are you working? Are they all up here already? Yeah, yours all up here? Are yours all up here? Yeah, okay, well, let's just analyze this list here. Now, again, will these all work, yes or no? All right. Yes, they all will work. Here's what I'm gonna tell you. If I could go back to 2017. So my first year, my first 3 years, I did this, and I did this and this. So those were my 3. Actually, these were here. I kind of looked at them as one because it was an expire. It was basically I was cold calling them. So it was one list I was calling. I worked those 3. Now, out of those 3, where do you think the majority of the business came from? Out of those 3, do you think open houses? Anyone else think anything different out of those 3 lead
Oh, yeah,
sources?
so for you was the, sphere influence.
SOI was number 1. Now, which one was number 2?
Open houses.
Yep. So open house was number 2. And number 3 was FISBO's expires. And this is what the whole first 3 years looked like. My goal was whatever it was. I think I had my number was 12 million. And the priority was these 3 in that particular order. Going back to my point about going back, here's what I've learned. By year 3, I realized I didn't love doing these 2. Now I worked, I did find business in it. But I didn't love doing it, so I had to switch to something else. So eventually, and you guys didn't mention it here, but agent to agent was my next lead source that I replaced it with. So eventually, actually, I did a whole revamp. Eventually, number 2, I came off this. I hated doing open houses, so I put that in the number 2 slot. And I hated doing this. After 3 years, I mean, again, I found business, but it wasn't something enjoyable to me. So I kind of I did a modified version of farming. And where do you think still most of my business came from? Number 1 and number 2.
What is agent?
Me marketing to all the Keller Williams agents that I could network with in the company to have me be their referral source. So I used Command to find who they were, who did I want to network with based on where people are moving from. So I actually realized that in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Tampa, Orlando, literally every other major city in Florida, people were moving from those areas here. There was a lot of referral patterns being sent this way. And I'll show you guys what I'm referring to if you don't know what I'm saying here. So we literally started, meaning me and my admin, we started going down to each market center in Florida in the map, and we added 50 agents, the top 50 agents from each office, and we put them into Command and started email marketing to them, just like I did to my sphere of influence. And eventually those 2 became the top 2 lead sources when we think about the priorities. Here's a lesson I want to give you with whatever you decide to pick up here at the top, any of these 3, any one of these 3 on its own should allow you to hit your goals. So even if I just focused on SOI, I could hit my goals just on my SOI. Even if I just focus on agent to agent, I can still hit my goals with that. So it wasn't like I said 20 houses and say, okay, 10 from here, 5 from here, but it wasn't like that. Any one of these strategies should allow you to hit your goal. Questions about lead sources and picking them and what to work.
So like when you're farming a certain area, do you just tell them, I want to be your agent, or?
Well, there's a lot to tell them. That's a loaded question, probably for one class, but we'll use that as an example.
I recently did something similar, but I focus more on statistics from that area.
Okay.
And I showed it to them.
All right. Well, let's do this though. We've already picked out SOI as the lead source. We're gonna do farming as the second one. And let's just say we decided to do open house as the third one. Because I don't want to lose what we're doing here. We have a goal of 20 units. We're gonna do 20 units by working our SOI, farming, and open houses. We need that clarity first. If I'm doing this, let's say these are my 3. Should I be out there going crazy on YouTube and social media and business networking events?
Oh, but it's nice.
It's nice. It's nice. I'm not saying you can't. I'm not saying you can't do a video every now and then and put it out there for the marketing side of things. If these are your 3 focus, this is where you should be obsessing.
Your 80% is.
Because if you're obsessing somewhere else, you're not. Yeah, you're right. Well, it's your 20%. This is the 20% that's going to literally lead to 80% of your income. That's where the issue comes in. It's like, well, Jordas, YouTube comes easy to me as an example. I'm like, I can do that. Like, I'm not saying don't do it, but if you're out here doing YouTube over here, none of this is happening. My coach would even tell me this. He says, Jordas, I see you talking. Let's say this was the example. I would be talking like crazy with him about farming and open houses and how many I'm doing and all this great new letters I'm sending out to the neighborhood. But then he would ask me, well, Jordas, isn't SOI your number 1 lead source? What are you doing with them? Because I see you doing a lot of stuff over here, but what about them? So you should always focus on the priorities in the order you put them in. If your SOI is number 1, that is the first thing that you do at the beginning of your day is work your SOI. Then you graduate to do the next lead source. When you look at it that way, you'll start to create that discipline that you're ultimately going to need to stay consistent here. So now that we have goal, priority, the S is missing. What do you think the S stands for?
System. Strategy.
Say trend?
No, I didn't say trend. To the T.
That's what I thought I heard. What does it stand for?
She said strategy.
Strategy, okay, strategy. So it stands for strategies. So here, what we're looking for are 5 in each bucket. So for example, SOI is our #1 lead source. Now we're gonna figure out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 strategies to work our SOI.
Is that a daily strategy?
No, it's your yearly goal. It's your yearly plan. It is the strategy you're gonna be using for the year to market to your SOI. So yeah, there might be some daily components to it, yes. What should be in here? Let's say SOI as an example. I'm gonna speed up too, so make sure I can hit 411. So actually, you know what? Let's do this. So we can kind of answer your question about farm. Let's say farming, and let's just hypothetically say farming of Naples Park is the strategy. Because here's the thing, you don't just farm a city. You can't just farm unless you got a crap ton of money. Farm all of Collier County, you probably can't. So let's just say we're gonna farm Naples Park. What are 5 things we can do to farm Naples Park? I'm not gonna give you the answer. We're gonna make this interactive. So what were some of the things you were thinking?
Stats.
So market stats? What do you mean by that? Like giving them the market stats? How are you gonna give it to them?
I looked at, since we went through the other day through MLS, on how to find the prices, the amount of days, kind of giving them out. Like, for example, in my association, prices were steady, but there were not that many houses for sale, which means
Yeah.
they put theirs is most likely.
Okay, so fast. Okay, so market stats to educate the homeowners, but how are you gonna deliver that market stats?
Quarterly.
How are we gonna get that information in their hands? Don't talk, not the frequency yet. How are we gonna get
I
that?
did it in person.
So what do you mean by that? Like you door knock?
Yes.
Okay. So let's just think about this for a second. So, okay, so we're gonna deliver market stats. We can deliver a couple different ways. Door knock is one way. Here's the thing, you guys, this is your plan, so whatever you want to make it. So door knock is one way. What's another way we could have delivered it? Email. What's another way?
Mail.
Mail. What's another way?
Maybe that's where the seminars come in.
Okay. Okay, so let's think how we can take seminars to farm a neighborhood. We're probably looking, what are we looking for? We're farming in neighborhoods. Are we looking for sellers or buyers? Primarily. Sellers. Okay, so how can we take the idea of a seminar and sellers and bring them together?
Honestly.
Events. What kind of events?
Wine tasting. Get them nice and tipsy.
This is legit. So wine tasting. So one event per month, wine tasting, where you bring in a vendor, like the one we saw today, and one of the things you do is deliver the market stats at this wine tasting. That could be a part of your strategy. What else could be in here? So we got 2 strategies so far. What could be another strategy to work a farm? Which, by the way,
I was thinking.
go ahead.
I was thinking maybe like a gift wrapping kind of event. I live with old people, and I feel like they would love to like gift wrap around Christmas time, and then you can kind of add the plug in there.
That will fall into events. Yep. You can.
Right.
Okay. Here's the thing. Here's the reality, guys. You can literally, if you're going to farm a neighborhood, you can have 1 quarterly event. So here it could be literally 4 events a year, and then you map out what your 4 events are going to be. I always think about Chris right now, Chris Grosser, who has been doing pizza parties at his community clubhouse for the last few months and finally getting some business out of it, closed business from clubhouse basically event.
Where Jordas's barbecue.
Wow.
Oh, like Jordas's barbecue.
I've done barbecues. That's one thing I did. Barbecue at any public park here. You can first come, first serve in the pavilion. Get the nicest one next to the kids' playground, next to the bathroom. Bring a bunch of Costco burgers, hot dogs, chips, and drinks. For $500, you can have an amazing little party that day. And the idea here is we're using that event to farm the neighborhood in this scenario, or if I'm doing it the way I was doing it was for my SOI. I was inviting my whole SOI there. Hey, I'm having a barbecue at this park on this date at this time. At whatever time, it's open house styles, whenever you want.
The idea of farming and doing a market report just brings me to, you could actually set up a move to the farmer's market.
Move the farmer's market?
Have like a little booth there or whatever, you know?
Yeah, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, move.
It
Yeah,
sounds ridiculous, but.
It's not.
Those two words, I mean, I'm just like, what about the farmer's market?
the reality is it's not.
Market all the time, there's all kinds of roofers and,
Mhm.
just all kinds of people with little booths
Yeah.
and information.
Facebook page, if there's not already an existing Facebook page, and even if there is, how can I make the Facebook page even better, but me be the one that owns that Facebook page? That I hold the information for the community. So that's another option. We can keep going. I'm gonna give one more.
Golf cart decorating event.
Yeah, clearly you're gonna be the party girl doing events. But here's the thing, all that's gonna work. Here's the thing though, you need to figure out your 3 or 4. Don't, if you're gonna do 3 or 4, plan them out for the year. Don't go crazy. Oh, I'm gonna change my event to this. Like, no, map out what your events are gonna be and just work the plan. The other one, last one, and then we'll move on, is business owners. I mean, couldn't you now farm all the business owners in that area? So like hypothetically Naples Park, could I not get on feet and start right here? Technically, this would qualify, start in this shopping center and start meeting the owners of these shops, the employees of these shops.
And the hot movers too. To know the hot movers, I think that's pretty important when you're farming, right?
No.
Oh.
You're talking about the scores inside of like Remine and all that?
Yeah.
I'm not saying no to that you can't do that. When I look at a farm, the more narrow I make it, you're limiting the amount of people. If I'm gonna work Naples Park, I'm gonna work Naples Park. I'm not necessarily gonna work the buyers only, the seller. Like, I'm just farming this area. I just want to be when somebody in Naples Park thinks of real estate, they think of me because I'm doing all these type of events. I'm in their face all the time. But you could you once a month, to your point, could you once a month mail out a home equity analysis? Like, hey, you have equity in your home. Have you considered moving, or would you like to receive a free CMA, a free quick CMA on your property? Yeah, you could do that. So, but I just wouldn't get too crazy where I'm only hitting a few people in a neighborhood. The last piece I want to just give you with that, since we're just on the conversation of farming, make sure you look up the turnover rate in the neighborhood to figure out if that's truly where you want to focus. So that's going to be the total homes sold divided by total homes in that area, and you're going to go back 12 months of the home sold. And some people might give you different answers. For me, that number is about 7 or higher as a percentage of homes turning over a year would be a neighborhood I would focus in. Now, if your turnover is not that, but it's an area you live in and you want to farm, but the turnover is super low, that's your call if you want to do it. Because you got to realize you're going to be investing a lot of effort into something where there's not a lot of people selling their homes. So that's a decision you'll have to make. And it's interesting because I think about, there's a realtor for a KW agent in my neighborhood. I don't farm my neighborhood, but she's been living there forever. She farms it. And there was no listings. Like, I'm in a weird spot in Fort Myers where once you get past the canal, there's only 3, or past the boat ramp, there's like 3 canals. It's very private there. Like, if you go back there, you better know somebody, because people are going to be like, who the hell is that car? Or, driving back, and it's like that kind of area. There were not any home sales. After I bought my house, there were no home sales in there. And then 2 years goes by, hurricane hits. Who do you think lists a few properties in there? That agent that farms it. Because she was top of mind, because she's constantly mailing them. How do I know? Because I live there and I get the mail too. But here's the reality. And she farms a wider section. I would never farm that area because there wasn't enough turnover. The hurricane changed it. Outside of the turnover of the hurricane, there's really not a lot of turnover there. So anyways, you have to make that decision as a business owner. I got 15 minutes to cover the next tool. So let's recap here real fast so we're not lost here. We have to know what our goal is first. Once we know where we're going, what town in New York we're going to, we're going to pop that into our GPS. GPS, simply said, is our goals, our priorities, and our strategies. Some people might use the term 135 instead of GPS. Just know that we're talking about the same thing. 1 goal, 3 priorities, 5 strategies. So now what you guys have to do is sit down and figure out, okay, what's it going to be for me? What's my 3 are going to be? What are the strategies? Have either of you ever heard of 411?
Mhm.
I know you have, girl. So I always look at Amber, that's our operating principal, and when I've known her for a couple of years, and then of course, then she became our owner here, I was like, I got to work a lot closer with her. And it just always blew my mind how she does so much. She has a title company, her real estate team, they do over 100 units a year. She has 4 kids, goes to church, has 8 Airbnbs throughout Florida and Georgia area. And I'm like, dude, how does this lady like keep up with all that stuff? I'm like, it blew my mind. And the reality is that she just follows a 411. So a 411 is, simply put, it's a way to organize your 20%. That's really it. You look at any successful person, and listen, I'm not saying I'm a success girl, but I'm definitely emulating some of the ones I see that are in my world. But all of them have a very structured way of doing things, and if they're with KW, they use a similar tool called a 401. So 401 is simply taking your goal, that's the first one. And I'm going to show you guys a template real fast. So it's taking your yearly goal, then it's breaking them down into monthly goals. And what do you think the next one is? So 1 year.
Weekly goals.
Weekly, that's the 4. So it's weekly goals. So let's hypothetically say, and actually let me go to an actual tool because it'll be hard to express what I want to say and show you without showing it to you. Can you give me co-host, Rose? Do it to my computer, the one that has my headshot. Or sorry, actually do it to the one up top where it says Jordas, Reyes, KW, Marco. Give me co-host. Thank you. And all this that you're about to see on my screen, I can share with you guys too, so you have these tools as well.
Please.
So let me take a step back to the lid. We're just gonna go with the example that's on screen. I don't want to mess with anything. Remember the 292 that we had here for 20 units? Let's look at this example. We just basically did the same math. We have our total income needed 299, which is my income desired plus my taxes. We have business expenses, and then we have cost of sale. Now, notice the cost of sale is a little bit higher than the 30,000. The reason for that is that in this scenario, we already budgeted doing 10 referrals out to an agent of 25%. So I've already budgeted the fact that, well, wait a minute, I'm not gonna keep that money. I gotta pay that out of the referral fee. So I gotta know what number to hit while still paying out a referral fee. So that brings the gross income goal to 393. And then taking the same 15,000, it's 26 home sales. So 26 home sales would generate 393 in gross commission income. Now, the next thing is understanding how much of it is going to come from the listing side versus how much of it is going to come from the buy side. In the MREA book, we teach a balanced business of 50-50. So if 26 home, 26.2 to be exact is the number, we need to hit 13.1 total sellers, follow my mouse, 13.1 sales. Well, in order to sell 13.1 listing sales, at a 75% conversion, meaning that if we list 4 homes, 3 of them actually sell, 1 of them is going to expire, terminate, withdraw, change their mind, whatever the case may be. At a 75% conversion rate, which is what the new number is from the MREA 2 book that they're writing, before it was 70%. I would need to list, I'm going to round up, 18 homes. So in order for me to sell 13 homes, I would need to list 18 because only 75% are going to sell. Now, let's look at the next conversion rate. Appointments. So this is saying that I convert 60% of the appointments that I go on to work with me. So I would need to go rounding up 30 appointments to list 18 to eventually sell 13 houses. I do the same math on the right hand side, and now it gives me the buy side. You go all the way down to the bottom, it tells me how many total buyer appointments per month I need and how many total seller appointments per month. How many appointments total do I need per month to hit my goal? How many total appointments I need to go on per month to hit my goal? It's Five. Rounding up, it's technically 4.8, so it's 5. I would have to go on 5 appointments per month to hit my goal. So when I think about tracking my business, when I think about my 20%, well, would you guys say that knowing that number is part of my 20%? Would that be part of my 20%? Yeah.
Yes.
So here on their monthly, I would have 5 appointments. And then on my weekly, let's just break this down to 4 weeks. So I would need 1 or 2 appointments this week. Now, let's just say at the end of the week, I'm recapping, I'm analyzing how my week went, and let's say I hit 0 appointments that week. How many do I need now to do?
4
4? Why 4?
from last month.
4, okay. So I need 4 appointments this week. Let's say I get caught up a little bit, I hit 2 appointments this next second week. How many do I need in week 3? Yeah, because, well, I needed 2, but I'm down 2. So 4 again. If I do 4 that week, what do I need this week?
2.
There we go. And all you're doing is week by week tracking your 20%, which you should be tracking how many appointments you go on. Now, what else can I be tracking my 411 on a weekly basis? There's other numbers we can track. That's one of them. So we're tracking appointments. What else can we track? Contacts.
Open houses.
Yeah, if open house is a part of your strategy, we need to be tracking our open house. What else can we track? Me, I'm helping generate leads for the office. Well, I have to track my leads that I generated. So in my case, I have to do leads here as well, as far as what I track. If I'm recruiting agents, I need to focus on how many, your contacts are sellers and buyers, my contacts are agents. I have usually anywhere between 8 to 10 appointment slots a week. That's part of what I track too. How many appointment slots did I fill? If I only filled, let's say, 4 out of my 8 appointment slots, I would need to fill 8 plus my 4 next week.
Wait, I have a question. Is it so to make these goals realistic? Is it easier to do it from weekly to yearly? Because I mean,
You start
like if you talk about like if you talk, yeah, but if you talk about like contacts, okay, so well, I want to add 700 contacts to Facebook. That sounds like a lot, but then if you break it down monthly, that's 59. Weekly, that's only 15. Those are realistic goals, I feel like. So wouldn't it be easier to set the goals realistic by doing them weekly goals and then timesing that by 4 and then times? Does that make sense?
You're doing that, but here's what's happening. Like, yes, your example, week 1 and 17 contacts, but if you only hit 10, you're behind 7. So next week we need to make 17 plus the 7 that we're behind. So that number would adjust in week 2. That works perfect when you actually hit your number. The reality is we're not always going to hit our number. We're not.
But I'm saying to set them, like to set the goals, because like it's.
Yeah. No, you got it right.
Is it better? Okay.
Yeah. What you're saying is correct. You work backwards. Break it down yearly, monthly into weekly, and that's going to start your baseline of that's where I got 4 in this example.
Okay.
Remember, mine was 5, but I got to do 1 and 2 because I only got 4, right? So 1 week I may really only need 1, but maybe I need 2 on week 4. So that's why I just had 1 to 2.
Okay. Thank you.
But no, you got it. The key is this: you got to know, did you hit your number or not? If you didn't do it, most people would say, okay, I'm good. I got to do 17 next week in your scenario, but realistically, you're behind from week 1, and that's where we lose it. This is where we lose the momentum when we don't hit our goal. The model is the model. These numbers have been proven by Gary Keller to work as far as, how many units I need. And here's another, I'm going to go a little bit deeper with you guys here. It's not part of what I was going to cover, but if you guys have a few extra minutes, or 6 minutes, I'm good on time. So here's my simple math, how I business plan. Let me take out my calculator. Because, I can't do math without calculator. So 20 units, what I like to do is I like to divide that by 0.06. 0.06 and is going to give me 333. That is the amount of people and 6% is my conversion of my database, I would need a minimum a database of 333 people. So my SOI needs to be that. So if my SOI is already that, now I'm just gonna focus on the strategies that we talked about, right? The 5 strategies to work this group of 333 people, because I know that when I work that, I should be able to convert the 6% I need. The number Gary Keller has been, he's in kind of doing the numbers like 6.3 is reality, but it's actually been, I just keep it simple, 6%. I want to say half of that, then there you go. What is that? 6, what would work out to that? Yeah. So now I know literally what my contact goal is, or what my how many leads I need to work in order to hit my number. So I've seen some agents do this. I've seen some agents say, okay, I need 333 people. I already know 100. Some will say, okay, well, what other 2 lead sources am I going to work to find the other that I'm missing and make my other contact? So that's one way to look at it. At the end of the day, and mine's going to look a little bit different than yours in your business, but I want to just show you something real quick. And I just revamped mine because I just had my conversation with Amber about my goals. I'll go back to June just to give you an example. In June, I was using mine to really just track my 20%. So like, here's week 4, here are the things I need to do in week 4. But my job has been changing. So let me just take a step back here. If I look at July, as my job now primarily is lead generating, now I know monthly. So in July, for example, I need to hit 9 closed units, 8 seller appointments, 8 buyer appointments, and 165 leads generated. Now weekly, I know, and this is my actual number for that week. But then I can start to track how many each week. I should have this week, technically 3 closings, 2 buyer appointments, 2 seller appointments, 42 leads generated. If I don't have that, now I have to add that on to week 3. So this template is a template I will give you. Notice how in, like, let's say week 1, just look at the format of this. It looks at right here, you have your 80% professional tasks. So this is saying the top are your 20% items. The bottom are just some of the miscellaneous things you need to get done for that week. But the top gets done first. So for you, it's very simple. If you really think about the rest of what you can be tracking here, yes, lead, but let's just simplify this. Lead gen time. So you should be tracking lead gen time. You should be tracking appointments set. Contacts, I would be tracking lead gen time, appointment set, contacts made. At the very least, those 3 metrics I would be tracking in my real estate only sales business.
What's the third one? Lead gen, contacts, and what?
Yeah, lead gen time, appointment set, contacts made.
Appointment.
Yep. Okay. And in this template, even I'll show you guys something. One thing I do as well. And actually, let me go back over here. I'm actually reworking this right now. This would be a simple start to mine right now. So right now, I would have to hit 13.5, sphere of influence number 1, agent number 2, online leads through these 3 platforms number 3. I'm working on recreating the strategies now to work all 3 of those lead sources. So this is my GPS based on everything I just taught you guys right there. And then eventually, once I have all those numbers and what metrics I need to hit, then I'm going to break them down into monthly goals, which will then be broken down into weekly goals. How Amber gets so much done in her world is because she knows what her 20% is up here. It doesn't get distracted, because sometimes we get distracted by, oh, I got to get my app update. I got to do my business cards. I got to make this postcard. I got to do this social media post. None of that is in your top 20%, because your top 20% is lead generating, go on appointments, negotiate contracts, and script practice and role play. So I could even down here, I could technically put my role play time as something I track. That could be up there as well. Any questions? Did I lose you?
No.
All right. One other thing while we're on here, on this template here, Rose, can you make sure you get the blank? Don't mess with this version, which is my version of the 401. Get a blank one and share it with everybody. On this version, notice it doesn't just focus on professional, we actually do focus on professional, we focus on personal, and you focus on money as well. So you focus on all aspects, and the way, one of the ways my coach likes to look at this with me is that she actually starts on the right-hand side and checks in on how I'm doing with my income and my money goals, checks on me with my personal goals, and then checks on me and with the professional goals. And in most cases, if money and personal is happening, likely professional is going really well too. It's rare that professional is going well for you and personal money sucks. It's really rare. If it is, you're screwing up pretty badly somewhere. So, because you shouldn't be hitting your professional goals and have the rest of your life falling apart. So start with leveraging this, whatever comes easier for you. Some people it might be easier for them to start this leveraging this tool in personal life, but for many, starting professionally and then it rolls into their business, personal world is kind of how I've seen it work best. So again, this is a working document, guys. I mean, you've noticed here, not everything's color coded. I just use color codes for my conversations with Amber. Green means I did it. Red means, hey, it didn't get done. Yellow means I got started but not finished. It's the way I color code it.
Okay,
And it's a working document.
thank you for sharing.
It's always changing. So just know that it's a live document. So don't beat yourself up if you're behind. There's been times I jump in on my one-on-one with Amber and she's like, Jordas, you have a touch report on one. I'm like, my bad. But
So
again,
do you time block? Do you time block for your 411 planning weekly, or how does that go?
Yeah, well, it's usually on Fridays for me at the end of the day. I have a virtual assistant that helps me. So her and I she's on the call right now, actually, Rose. She's the other Jordas that's on there. Rose, you want to say hello real fast? Sorry if you don't have.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Rose.
So she
Hi, Katie. How
and
are
she
you?
helps me with that as well. So she'll usually kick my butt on Monday mornings. Hey, don't forget your 401 because you have a call coming up with Amber at 10:30.
Your twin, Rose.
What was that?
I want Rose to know she has a twin. It's really good to have an accountability coach. I think It's true. It's true.
When you're ready for a Rose or something similar, yeah, let me know. We can help you figure that part out. The intro, and let me stop the recording. We're good. We're done. Wrapping it up. You can stop the recording.